All right, welcome back. You can see we had some changes in our life. And what I wanted to talk about with my ESTJ or ISTJ wife, Deanna, is basically the fact that the INTJ is still the worst spouse. And a lot has changed because the last time we did a video on the INTJ being a bad spouse was before we had any kids. This is back in 2020. And we're totally different people, but in some ways we're still the same. And I think it'd be a good video to talk about what's happened after 2 kids, 5 years, how our relationship changed, how our relationship with our former selves has changed, because I can talk about that for a while. If Leo wants to chime in, he can say a few things.
Yeah, he might have some good input here.
He might have some great input. He's very insightful. Look how big his head is. He's so smart.
Yes.
And, we don't know his type yet. I haven't even tried to really type him.
He's very stoic, I would say. But
he's very stoic, relaxed, calm.
Yeah.
He's really a go with the flow type person, as opposed to our other son who is very much not a go with the flow and everything's needs to be a certain way, but also creative in that way. So I would say, one thing I would say about the, our relationship, we're both TE types, and we've had this discussion a lot, which is we both like to control things. I like to control my time and where it's spent, my energy and where it's going. And not sometimes, all the time with kids, your time, your plans, your silence, wrecked. And with Deanna, she's very much like she has a plan in place of how the day will go, where we're going to be at a certain time. They're going to take a nap at a certain time. They're going to eat.
I mean, I should say that's how I thought I wanted to live my life. But I've learned that I can't. Even if that's what I wanted, I can't. Because kids make you. They're very SE. They make you live in the moment. You can have a plan. And you can say, we're going to get out the door in 5 minutes, and you'll be getting out the door in 5 minutes. And you're like, look at me, I'm doing great. And then one of them poops their pants, or both of them, or they barf all over you. And you're just like, cool, now we're late, And this is why I never understood when someone would say oh my gosh, I thought I was going to respond to your text. I thought I responded, but I forgot. I was like, yeah, right. Whenever people said that to me, but now I get it as a mom. I could see, I feel like there's so many half conversations you and I have because some kid is demanding in the moment and we just never get back to it because it forces you to put the fire out, put it out. And that's your whole life. And so I feel like some people, I have a coworker who has always lived her life like that. So I think that's why she loved motherhood because it's like putting out fires, living in the moment. Great. It was a super hard transition for the ISTJ in me to not live with such a regimented plan.
Yeah. And I always try to find the silver lining in accessing that SE part of myself and being in the moment and responding in time. But I guess I at some point started to started to feel the symptoms of the first burnout I'd ever felt, and I didn't know what it was, but it was because I was so SE that I never got to take a second for myself. And anytime I did take a second, I would either I was so tired, I would just fall asleep, or it would be the 25 to 30 minutes between bed, putting them to bed and our time, and we would spend it together. And then I would just really have no time for myself. So I actually experienced burnout because of that. But I do think we can adapt. And I will say that your coworker, I think the ESFP or the ENFP type thrives in that environment because it is their natural state, and then they just add a kid, and it's just a little bit more chaotic, but they're not opposed to that, and they are fun parents, and they don't really we'll keep this going. And you're allotted as a parent, you're making plans with other parents for playtime. You're allotted a 15-minute, even 30-minute window because it's I couldn't get the kids up on time, whatever's going on. And that was hard for us to be we got everyone together. we are here, and that was how we operated for so long. But now we're like, we've even canceled plans recently, which is not a TE thing to do. It's like canceling plans and being late is unacceptable to our type.
Right.
But now we've done it recently, and I'm like, we had to let go of that former self where that was just unacceptable, and it was a sign of disrespect if you didn't show up on
and it
time.
was like how we identified, like, we are people who show up, we are people who commit, and we're there, we are people who make plans, and so to be like, do we walk out the door or do we just not go? Like, it was kind of wild for us, but we had to listen to like sort of our in the moment intuition and go, yeah, we're not going, and we kind of, I don't know, I'm not going to speak for you, but there was a little bit of guilt in it of like, I feel bad because I am a person who goes, but it's like, why go if we know, like, just for the sake of going,
just for the sake of going, just because we said we're going.
Yeah. When it's such a struggle.
It's funny because you said, in the moment intuition, which I guess would kind of contradict itself, but in a way it's true because you're like, if we go, we make this drive.
Right.
When we get there, it's going to be an S show. And leaving is going to be terrible.
Yeah.
And we stay late, and like all these things start to like pile up in your head. And you're like, we can't go. We're going to have to, and you can use you can use the kids for an excuse for almost anything. So there are some benefits to get out of like,
but it's not a lie.
It's not a lie, but it is definitely not a lie. I'm not saying to use it as a lie. I'm just saying like your kids will throw a wrench into things. They'll wake up with a stuffy nose and be sick, and you're like, we really can't afford to get other people sick. And like right now is like, this is a perfect example. This happens all the time. And if say we were doing something, so I had to cut because Leo needed to eat. And that happens all the time too, where it's just like, okay, let's stop everything. Again, in the moment SE. So I guess, the title of this video is why the INTJ is the worst spouse. And I think, and you could probably tell me, why after 2 kids, the INTJ is either, my type, me personally, but I would say that the INTJ is the worst spouse just because we don't do well when we don't get our time to ourselves.
Your personal time. That's what I was gonna bring up too. And it's a struggle for me because I would like a spouse who's like there with me as a partnership, but I also don't want you to be like reluctantly there. I want you to want to be there. So if what you need is personal time to recharge, to be able to like truly show up in the moment, then in my opinion, my duty as a spouse is to like pick up the slack so you can go do that. So like if you need to go on a run or you need to take a nap or you want to read a book or whatever, I'm like, please do that.
It's usually just a nap.
I want you to be in a better mood so that you can have your batteries more full to be there, So, but some other people would say, buck up, buttercup, and you don't get to read or sleep or go on a run,
Yeah, and there's been times like that where it's just like I know, and you're right, and I do, like, this is not the best time for me to recharge, and I can tell that it's a struggle with both of them. But yeah, I would say that it's just so hard giving up that piece of yourself, the just reflection, the reading, like, because I used to be 50 to 75 books a year.
I read 100 in 2020.
In 2020 I read 100. So I have a lot of time where I just need to do that, and giving that up is still really hard to do. But you have to just make time somewhere. I started listening to more audiobooks. I'm like, well, if I can't physically sit down and get the time, then I need to find out a way. And it was reading on a Kindle, like in the dark at night when I'm going to bed, which is I never did. I always had like a physical book. I had to have the light on, so I had to adjust. And then audiobooks when I have time in the car to and from dropping my son off at school. So I just had to adjust where I got that, and time to just reflect and fill my head with knowledge. And I would say that I'm coming back to my old self in a way, but I had to adjust a lot of life. And for other types, I think that adjustment would be super quick. But for me, it's been, 3 years in the making.
So it's interesting you say coming back to your old self, because I feel like that was my gripe with Hollywood in general, was Hollywood makes it look like you have a kid and then you're just all of a sudden still your same person, still doing all the same stuff. There's just a kid there. And so that was my struggle after baby number one, was like, how come I can't get back to doing all the things I used to do and just have the kid there? Like, that's what my impression was. I was supposed to be able to do that. And I think that with this baby, because I had the insight of like, that's just not happening, I was able to kind of let go of like, I'm not going to go back to my previous self, at least for now, for like a pretty long season. Yeah. So I'm going to just accept it and like appreciate all these things that I have in this moment and soak it up and figure out who I am later. Yeah. Like, I don't want to like, quote unquote, lose myself in motherhood, but I'm going to embrace it instead of fight it, instead of like work against the current. Yeah. I'm going to go with it.
That's really the best point is acceptance of where you're at and the realities of parenthood, work, life, kids, health, all the things that you're trying to squeeze in. And I was trying to create that character that's 100% in every aspect, and it just wasn't working, and I couldn't, because I was so used to just being able to make things happen through just pure will, but it's just your will kind of it goes away because you can't you have to face the reality. And saying it's a season of life is a great way to think about it too, because really your kids do grow up fast. Which is sad, but you realize that like, okay, how long am I actually going to be unable to do the things that I was able to do? It's not that long. It's not 18 years. They say like, once you're 18 years and then you're out of the house, it's not.
Yeah, like if you look at the percentage of your life, like for me right now, I'm unable to work out in the fashion that I prefer, let's say, right? And I feel like my quote unquote old self would have been really resentful of it. Like, I do yoga every day, so why can't I do it, And now I'm just like, someday I'll do a bunch of yoga. I know I will. But right now I'm just going to go on walks because that's the easiest thing. I can step out my door whenever I'm ready and just go. And I think the word acceptance, like you said, has really helped me.
Yeah. So, and I didn't want to give up my exercise. So the only time I could do it is at 5 a.m. Is it extremely enjoyable to get up at 4? I like to get up an hour before, but is it extremely enjoyable to get up at 4 to go to the gym at 5? No. But that was that was like a non-negotiable for me. So, but I wasn't going to say like, you take care of the kids the entire time. I need to do my thing, but you have to give up something. I don't. That would be a true example of why the INTJ would be a terrible spouse is we're having a kid, but I'm not going to give up the things that matter to me. You have to do that. And, generationally speaking, I think that is how it used to be. But I think people at our age in their 30s are starting to understand was a flaw in maybe our parents or the parents before us generation. And we're trying to break that cycle.
Well, you can be an individual or you can be a partnership. Yeah. And I mean, again, don't lose yourself in the marriage, but the marriage should be a priority. So the title of this video is Are You the INTJ? Why they're the worst spouse? I don't think that makes you the worst person or whatever, but you are very individualistic. Yeah, that's true. But that's how you recharge your battery, and you can't show up in the marriage or in parenthood without a charged battery. No, you can't. So there's a balance to find. And
like there's one other thing that you made me think of, which is, we still go on a date weekly. We still bring Leo with us, but it's not that hard to do. But you have to, once again, like you can put together a TE-oriented list where it's like, if we can't do what we normally did in this fashion, we will figure out a way to make it work. Someone can come, nanny for a couple hours where you go on a date to keep this relationship alive. Because you will go insane. Like even if you're really happy about your kids, you will need to get out and do stuff for yourself. And that's probably the best advice I can give is like you have to figure out a way to get back to being with each other too, or it will just be extreme. You'll start just fighting over nothing.
Right.
Get at each other. So for other parents, you don't have to be INTJ or ISTJ, but what was the biggest change that happened for you as a individual type, but then interpersonal, like what happened to your marriage? How do you have to switch your life around for work, for working out, for health? Tell us about it. And sorry it's been so long, but life is a bit chaotic. But we'll be seeing you all soon.
Bye.